Welcome everyone back to another BOLDcast One Piece reaction. I'm Carson.
I'm Lindsay.
This is One Piece episode 422. We are getting into the new arc. We just finished a podcast. You can check out the podcast discussing the Shabandi or Sabaudi, or however you say it, archipelago and Amazon Lily. We discussed them upon request from some of our community members, saying that obviously this saga is shaping up to be quite the banger, quite the insane, packed, crazy fest of craziness. So we did a podcast taking questions from you guys to kind of get our thoughts together for what has already come, and now we're focused on what lies ahead, which is apparently just insane. So yeah, go check out the podcast, and we hope you enjoy. Most of all, if you want to get ahead on One Piece reactions, you can leave a like, subscribe, and check out patreon.com/BOLDcast. That's linked in the description. Get 2 weeks ahead of uncuts, 1 week ahead of edited reactions. It looks like we're getting into a conversation with Garp and Ace, by the looks of it, perhaps, where we kind of left off. Pretty scary stuff. Let's see what happens this time. You excited?
I'm scared.
Me too. Let's go. About his father.
Like how Luffy just thought he spawned.
Criminals. Multiple.
Yes.
Whoa. Big flashback and confirmation that he took his name from his mom.
Damn.
We gotta talk about that after. There's a lot to go through there. It makes sense why, obviously. I mean, Whitebeard would probably want to go after him regardless, but it makes sense why he's willing to like start a full-on war.
No way!
No way! He's been making a name for himself, apparently. I wonder if Alvida's with him still.
That'd be so good.
Oh my god.
These freaking clowns.
These literal clowns.
Yeah.
What was the lion's name? I forget the lion's name. It was funny.
Richie, I think?
Yes!
And he's a
Captain
lion.
Richie. You remember that episode?
Yeah. You wanted to come here for what? Oh.
Oh shit. Did we know that?
I don't think
I don't
so.
think so.
That's probably what it was in that newspaper, though.
His friend?
Is it actually his friend, or are you
I would
guys
believe
just-
it. He knows Shanks, and they're, I don't know, it's all kind of... Oh my god, are we actually gonna be hanging out with them? Or is Buggy gonna help Ace, like, break out, maybe?
That would be kind of crazy.
Right. Right, Captain John's Treasure Island. That was his thing. He found, like, the treasure map to that, right? And was looking for it?
Yeah.
He's even saying meat.
Fair enough. They're just gonna abandon him, but maybe
I mean, what the fuck are they gonna
see
do?
him when he's there and let him out. I hope you have a peaceful execution.
I love how Luffy's like parallel on their ship is a lion who just wants food.
Yeah.
I like reconnecting with Buggy's ship. It reminds me of more peaceful times. The Grand Line isn't that deep, is it?
I mean, it probably is deeper in some
Yeah,
places
different
than
areas.
others. This is right near the red line. So.
Oh, that's you're 100% right. It's true. And there's like plates and stuff. This definitely looks like a prison.
Mm-hmm.
And a torture chamber.
In the middle. Damn.
People are just reduced to animals.
Yeah.
Who's got the haunches? Kinda look like Dalton. Never mind. A little bit different.
Here's a different model.
Yeah, it's probably... I mean, it has to be, right? Like, what else could it be?
Unless it's just like that. You're not on death row. You are now.
Do you just eat them? Or they're multiple? I can't tell.
Yeah, I can see why no one wants to go here.
And there's like many different ones. I wonder if they're even Devil Fruit users or if they're just like
Creatures.
chimeras.
Yeah. 4.5 days.
Jesus, so we're getting real close.
We're at Impel Down. This is kind of insane.
This
right
is
now.
crazy. I mean, if there's one place that, well, you never know. I was gonna say if there's one place where Hancock's fruit could work, a prison filled almost entirely with men.
Is pretty good.
Pretty good place, or maybe they're so far gone psychologically that they don't give a shit.
Work, yeah.
You know, you don't know. But who knows, they probably don't even need to fight the prisoners, obviously, but like...
Yeah.
But the monsters, the guards and shit, maybe they won't give a shit about how beautiful she is.
Yeah. She might also be better to make a distraction while Luffy kind of goes in and does stuff.
She can also use Conqueror's Hockey.
Yeah.
So she can maybe stun them and like, maybe put up a bit of a fight without her fruit. This is stressful as shit. I love the most dangerous place in the world is run by the cops. That's crazy.
So does love a snake.
Please refrain from that. Luffy, shut the fuck up. Yeah, what if they search you, lady? Yeah.
Can you not hear that? You should have had the snake eat him. Buggy the clown? He's being able to escape?
He ate a devil fruit? Of course he ate a devil fruit.
Or he could just...
He could, yeah, split himself
Well,
up.
I'm sure it's all sea prism stone, so...
Maybe they'll all be like so distracted by how hot she is that they'll just forget to search her properly.
Yeah, search her boobs. Alright. You can go through.
I'm sure that won't trigger any unpleasant memories. This stretching. So weird looking. This is so stressful.
Okay. Interesting outfit you've got going.
Whenever there's like, I mean, he's like got 5 different versions of a scary like religious figure. Domino. Well, your shit's definitely not gonna work on her, and she won't get distracted.
Jesus. Well, that's one way to do it, I guess.
Crocodiles here? I guess that makes sense. Oh, I bet Crocodile did not like getting boiled in super hot water.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he's alive.
Okay.
No cameras, though.
They are sending video.
Oh. Oh my god. I like how they have the female, like, vice commander person, vice captain, perform the search, but then just have a bunch of dudes, like, gooning over the security footage. Oh. That might
This
be
could
useful.
actually be good.
Switching all the cameras, that's very...
I really
Yeah.
wish Luffy just went inside the snake.
They did not do... Yeah, well, I mean, they might search the snake, too. You never know. But the fact that they did no research. They didn't know about the fact there would be cameras.
Yeah.
I mean, how would they? They're not really, like, common, like, security cameras like that. And there's no time to do research. I'm not blaming them. It's just fucking really ill-advised. You're pulling off, like, a crazy heist prison escape in the most high-security prison ever, and you have no information. You didn't even know there was cameras. You didn't know there'd be a body search. Is it already the end of the episode?
Yeah.
They're doing the thing where they, like, oh, we have, like, 2 minutes left of shit, but we don't have anything else to show, so let's just show all the establishing shots? Oh, that's different. Oh,
33
fuck, they're doing
hours.
this thing. The world will
Countdown.
end in 33 hours. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they're gonna get out of this body search. The fact that all the cameras are zoomed in on her face may help.
I think that'll definitely help.
But this girl is still in the room. So we'll...
There's only one of her. If the cameras are only picking up her face, she just has to pretend like nothing's happening, and Luffy can slink out, beat up the girl, and then, like, Boa Hancock will just, like, have to act sexy or something and distract them.
Yeah, be like, oh, she saw my back, but kills her.
Yeah. I have a curse. I don't know what you know about my curse, but we don't know how much these guys might know, because, you know, we talked about that before. Like, does everybody know about, like, does everyone think there's a Gorgon curse, or is it just her people, or is it most people but not the Navy because they, and the world government people because they know about the Celestial Dragons, and just the fact that she's a warlord. Like, in order to become a warlord, did she have to, like, share that information? You know, we don't know how much everybody else knows. We know that her people think think that there's, like, some kind of curse on her back. Mm-hmm. So we don't know how that's gonna work out. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Impel Down looking pretty crazy. They're
It's
really
looking,
establishing that it's just the worst place of all time.
And, like, the prisoners look so fucked up. Like, some of them got, like, they look like ogres or something. They got, like, these pointy ears just to make them look, like, extra menacing.
Yeah.
You know? Like, they look like they've been worked over for, like, a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they're in the comm belt as well.
I also love how they're like, we're not on death row. I'm like, if I'd be in there, I would kind of want to be on death row at that point. Like, I would rather be executed.
Yeah, people are begging to die.
Yeah, I liked all the stuff with the buggy
stuff, how they
they're
just...
like, oh, Buggy's in there, and then
Alvida's just like, give up, because we're not gonna figure it out. Like, it's not gonna happen.
We can't get him out of there. Sorry, guys. If you want to go, you can take the little, like, lifeboat and go.
She's basically like Law of the Jungle, like, this is my ship now. I'm not just gonna let you take this ship and, you know, get it destroyed. And if you want to try and stop me, like, go ahead, but she's way stronger than all of them.
Yeah.
So she basically just usurps command of Buggy's ship.
Does Buggy's ship look different?
It looks less opulent, but
like,
we also didn't get a close look.
Loving Buggy's ship.
I think we just aren't getting a close look. It does. Yeah. I think the helm, like the front
maybe
thing.
Maybe because it's Buggy and Alvida's thing. Like maybe they made a new.
They have that, like, circular kind of, like, thing on the cabin. Most of it I think looks mostly the same, but we also didn't get, like, a really detailed close up shot of all of it. It was only these, like, far away.
Yeah, I guess so.
Illustrations. Mm-hmm. It looks about the same. It's also, we haven't seen it since the old art style, so there's that too.
Mm-hmm. And we also hadn't seen as many ships at that point, because I just remember thinking Buggy's ship was, like, super cool.
Yeah.
But if I saw it now, that didn't look that cool.
I think Buggy's ship is still, like, a highlight, but anyway. The stuff with Ace.
sick.
So let's go over what was said here. So he did take his name from his mom.
We discussed
The name
this.
Portgas, but he didn't take the D. He didn't take the D.
Which means, but we did.
Unless he did, and it's a translation
Hold
thing.
on. We did find out that, Dragon is also his father.
No.
Really?
No. We don't, that was like skirted around. Luffy was surprised to know about his father.
Yeah, that's true.
So it could also apply to Ace, but we still don't know. But then he talks about, it doesn't matter to us at all. Because Luffy and I, unfortunately, have the blood of the world's most infamous criminals in our veins anyway. So, two possibilities. Talking about Portgas' mom was also a criminal, also Luffy's mom. We don't know that. It's, and she was also, big criminal. So then the criminals, infamous criminals, would be Portgas' mom, who we, have never heard anything about, and apparently is the most infamous criminal, which is unlikely. Like, if they were so infamous and the world's most infamous criminal, there's a lot of people we don't know, but we just learned about Rayleigh like a couple chapters ago at this point. So there's a lot of infamous people that we don't know. So it is possible that there is a infamous Portgas woman, mom, lady, who is the mom of both Luffy and Ace. Whatever. And she's also a criminal. Or they're talking about Dragon and another guy. And Portgas' mom is just a lady.
I thought there was something else that he said that made me think that. Because, when it was first his...
Took over the name Portgas from my mother, whom I owe so much. But I never wanted to have my good-for-nothing father's blood. Because I don't have any memory of him, and I don't owe anything to him. Yeah, I understand, but he tried. What I want to say is... Old man. And then he's like, Whitebeard is my only father. And Garp is like trying to defend his dad.
Yeah. They're
skirting around
stuff in such a way, because I feel like every time we get something, we're like, oh, we could jump to this conclusion, but we can't because they worded it in a very particular way that leaves this much of a hint of plausible deniability.
Yeah, and
even previously when Garp had a conversation with Luffy,
he was like, kid of my kid.
Yeah, but in the
son.
translation, it said, I think, but we were reading, it said son of my son, but then people were like, no, that was a mistranslation.
Yeah, he said...
he actually said,
the non-gendered version, or just son. He didn't say... Or just kid.
Yeah, because we were like,
or child.
We were like, oh, we both randomly had this, preconceived notion that Garp was a girl dad.
Yeah.
And he was Luffy's mom's dad. But then we saw that translation, the mistranslation, we were like, oh, that's interesting. That kind of reevaluates everything in my mind, but that's okay, I guess. But then to find out that it was a mistranslation and it didn't mean that. But then it's weird here because then Garp is defending Ace's dad a little bit and trying to be like, oh, well, he tried, which I feel like would normally be something that you would say about your own kid who was a shitty parent.
I think what the real thing that we need to think about is that with the child of my child thing, if we need to consider, Garp being a girl dad to be not likely. Because now the Portgas thing is confirmed, that he took his name from his mom. And if Luffy and Ace are half-brothers, and then they would share a mom, Garp could not be the mom's dad.
Yeah.
Because he's Monkey D. Garp, right? Right?
Yes. Yes.
Correct?
Yes, because the other theory was that Ace had a different dad with Portgas as his last name, and Luffy's mom was Monkey D something, and then Dragon took her name.
Yeah.
Because
he's a criminal, and there, maybe there was some magic shit where you could marry in and get the D, so that way, or he already had the D, but he married her, and in a Toji sort of way, took his wife's name to either hide his identity or just distance himself from his original family.
Yes.
Which was different, not Monkey. But the way it's looking now, it looks more and more likely with these confirmations that Garp is Dragon's dad. But there's still a lot more hidden otherwise, right? So, but we don't know that for sure yet. There's still multiple details we don't know we still don't know. We don't know. Maybe Portgas' mom is also Luffy's mom. Because we don't know what Ace's other name was. Whether he was Monkey D. Ace and chose Portgas.
Yeah.
You'd think, because he only took the Portgas, that he would have been Monkey D. Ace, but he chose Portgas D. Ace.
Yeah, and he kept the D because it's.
But again, there's a lot of difficulty because the naming convention is non-standard in Japanese and it's also non-standard in English. And it's also translated from Japanese to English and from manga to anime and then from Japanese to English. So there's multiple layers of stuff here where we don't know exactly how the names work yet. But judging by this, if this is accurate, then it must be that D is separate from the surname, which for those who haven't seen all of our discussions about this, trying to figure all this out, it's a big sticking point. There's many different iterations. I know everybody watching this probably has a lot of these answers, if not all of them, and understands all this shit. We're trying to figure it out as first-time viewers. So we're working with a bunch of different layers of theorizing that you guys obviously probably didn't think about, or even if you did think about a lot of this, it seems dumb to like question all this because it's so known. Maybe there's a lot of things in One Piece that, judging by comments, are still not entirely known about different truths of family lineage and stuff like that. But so let's try and nail this one down. So do you think that Ace and Luffy are full brothers or half brothers? That's a good way to start with it.
Here's the thing. The whole time, I thought that they're probably half-brothers. But because of this, because we now know that he did confirmed take his mom's name, and we had always assumed that they shared a mother, they could be full brothers. Unless... What? Are you okay?
I'm concentrating on what you're saying because you're talking about, so I just want you to know
Unless
what you're saying.
They didn't share a mother and they shared a father instead, which would kind of be a crazy twist. But it wouldn't make that much sense because they seemingly somewhat grew up together, Unless they both got dumped on Garp.
It's seeming like that's probably what's going on, and we don't know if their moms are alive. Like if they, because that's true. It's like if they share one parent, it makes more sense for them to share a mom. Because if they're half brothers, they both grew up together.
Yeah.
So the idea being, if you think about it logically, a guy walks out on the woman, but the woman has to carry the child, gives birth to the child, and even if she dies of childbirth, like they're in the everybody's in the same place. But if a guy is going around fucking a bunch of different women, then there's all the kids are like separated.
Yeah.
So logically speaking, that's another thing why it would make sense if Garp was a girl dad. Because then that would logically follow that he would be left with all these kids, which it seems like he was. So, but it seems like Dragon is more and more likely his son, and he was trying, like the ultimate theory, and with what we learned about Garp from the live action and his desire, we just learned now that he wanted them to be Marines.
Yeah,
we didn't know that before. Or we wouldn't have known that before, but we watched the live action where they put a lot more focus on that. So we knew that. And it also colors why Garp is so interested in Kobe and Helmeppo. Because they're like, Ace and Luffy kind of parallels in a way, like really dopey, but he's like taking them on as his own like grandsons that are actually following what his desired future for them was. Anyway, it seems like what's being pushed and pressed here is that they are, judging by just the ambiguity of how they were talking about Luffy and Ace's relation to each other, they're probably half siblings. And if Monkey D. Dragon did not marry into the Monkey D name, which it seems like a less likely thing to begin with, but it also seems like the kind of big twist that could happen later on. Anyway, it seems like that's less likely. It seems like, very simply, Garp, Dragon, 2 women, 1 Portgas, 1 whatever, we don't know, for Luffy. And then...
Garp ended up with the kids at some point.
Yeah.
to whatever extent Ace because that's the other thing. It's like Ace clearly loved and knew his mother.
Yeah.
And the way that he acts of that is like, to my mother, whom I owe so much, it's like she clearly hasn't been around in a long time. Whether she's dead or like missing, he doesn't know, but he clearly holds her in a high regard.
Yeah.
Luffy has never made mention of his. He never even considered the fact that he had a father.
Yeah.
But whether he considered the fact that he had a mother or not is yet to be seen. But you know. Yeah.
But there's something else that's nagging at me, and it's the criminals line. It's our parents have the blood of, or we have the blood of the most infamous criminals. Mm-hmm. So if it's multiple criminals, then 2 random women and dragon doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Is like if you have, well, I mean, Ace's mom, who could also be Luffy's mom, I guess, if they were full siblings.
If they were full siblings.
Like, she could be a notorious criminal, and it would make sense if, you know, Garp is, like, extra disappointed in his son that he wanted to be a Marine, turns out to be a revolutionist, has kids with a crazy criminal lady who's, like, some notorious pirate, perhaps. And then, you know, then he winds up with these kids, and then they still turn out to be pirates, you know, after all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Unless he got the D from, like, there's multiple D fathers. That's the only other thing. Maybe it's not Monkey D Ace. Maybe it was something else D Ace, and then Portgas was his mom. Mm-hmm. In which case, maybe Garp had multiple children, and they were just raised as brothers?
Yeah, they're actually cousins. I don't know, because there's also the thing, like, yeah, Ace includes himself. That's the other thing, is Ace says, like, us, when he's talking about me and Luffy both have the blood of notorious criminals in us. I took my mother's name, specifically, no, I took our mother's name.
And I told Luffy about his father.
Yeah.
Monkey D. Dragon.
Yeah. So there's a lot of very singular.
Yeah, there's all the reference, but again, that's exactly the kind of thing that gets messed up in translation, or is an oversight. Like mm-hmm. The thing with translation is sometimes, like, it's the same thing as people commenting, like, on our videos with theorizing, and a lot of people, if you guys look at the comments from time to time, there's people. Unfortunately, I haven't been spoiled on anything, really, but it's like people without knowing lead down a certain path, even when asking questions for our podcast. It's the same thing with translations. It's like, if people translating the series have a particular understanding about the information given, and, like, they won't think about the differences between plural and mm-hmm. non-plural, which in Japanese isn't a thing. They don't put an S on the end of things that are plural. They just have the subject or the object of the sentence, from what I understand. And it's more through context where it's given different pluralities. So that's exactly the kind of thing that gets messed up in translation. So you don't know. And because we're so theorizing so many different smaller details, those differences matter, and then you have to consider whether it's a plural or not, or whether it's a translator mm-hmm. not really considering the depth of the word choices. Mm-hmm. Because people translate so fast, they usually transcribe while they're watching and then edit it afterwards, or send it off to somebody who edits it afterwards and typesets it. Regardless, so my point is, we can make theories about the specific wording, but it's hard to really count on it.
Yes.
And make, like, a statement of, like, I predict this will happen because of these words, and this is very telling, the fact that they choose mm-hmm. these words or these words.
There's also the fact that, like, I think one of the main reasons that we heavily assume that they shared a mother is because of the fact that they look so similar. But have key differences. But they look very similar, and the things that they look similar on are, as far as we can tell, not necessarily things that appear in Dragon and Garp. Right. And as we've seen time and time again in the One Piece universe, people tend to look like a direct amalgamation of their parents with like
combined
key things like hair color from one, nose shape from one, eyes from one. It's very...
Yeah, it's like Usopp looks like Yasop, except for the hair color, which is his mom's, and the nose, which from his mom.
Yes.
Everything else, the hair texture, the face shape, the body type, everything looks exactly like his dad. So what's happening there is they're combined and then put down, and then that's what makes Usopp. So then, and that's one example of how Oda uses parentage to, or uses appearance to tell a story of parentage and family and stuff like that.
Similar with Robin and her mom
well.
looking identical to her mom.
And her dad is a mystery. But what does that mean then? It means that her dad probably had straight hair and black hair.
Yes.
Because the only difference between Robin and her mom is the hair color and the hair type. Robin's mom had white or silver wavy hair, and Robin has clearly straight black hair. So whoever her father is, we can count on that he has straight black hair, and everything else came from her mom.
And obviously that's not how genetics work in real life.
But it's a storytelling information.
It's established within this show. And I mean, he could
just change it, you know.
But
or he could just like have made a mistake when he designed somebody and didn't think about that. Like with Dragon, maybe when he introduced Dragon, he wasn't thinking about it being Luffy's dad. Maybe he was. You know, we obviously it's not a question of did he plan it? Is he good at planning? It's because we know that there's things, obviously, like with hockey, for example, he's planned that clearly, hundreds of chapters, and I think it was around, like, episode 150, 200 or something like that, maybe a little bit longer, that we found out about the dragon thing. Or no, it was way longer. It was at the end of Ennie's Lobby. Regardless, there's a lot that goes into figuring out parentage. There are a lot of breadcrumbs that are laid, but Oda's not perfect with these kind of things, and even more than Oda not being entirely perfect, because he doesn't need to be. It's the story, you know, manifests itself. But the other thing is there's multiple layers of possibility for obfuscation, and it's hard to tell as an English speaker which you know where there a little like 1 degree deviation in intention happens on multiple layers, like coloring, like people who are coloring the anime or people who are storyboarding the anime. There's many different people in between, and when you're reading the manga, it's obviously not the same, but you also don't have color. Anyway, regardless, I think with Luffy and Ace's relationship, I don't even know. It really does complicate it.
Comes back around, like every new piece of information somehow makes it simultaneously more clear and more complicated.
Let me list going before this conversation what I thought was very likely, what I thought was the most likely thing. Like without, you know, thinking about all the extra details. The simplest, easiest possibility. Garp, Monkey D, Dragon, and then Luffy, and then Ace has a different mom. Just because, and I know that doesn't make as much sense because of the whole half-brothers, you know, the kids would be scattered because there's moms at different places. But the reason I think that is just because of shonen manga. Just because if it's shonen, it's based on men. It's like the father and the son, the hostile brothers, or, you know, brotherhood, older brother, younger brother, Sasuke, Itachi, that type of fucking vibe, you know? Like, it's just shonen manga. It's for boys. It's about boys. It's written by a young man, you know, it's in that thing. So I don't expect it, or at least it's much less likely for a female character to be like the sort of archetypal focus. Like philosophically, it's like all about hero's journey. It's all about like the prince, like the idea of the prince, the idea of the prodigal son, the idea of lineage being passed down and carrying the sins of your father type thing. It lays a very easy and repeatable framework that most, especially shonen or hero's journey type stories, operate on. So, but then it also confuses it because how exactly before this conversation, the reason why the idea of Garp being a girl dad was so important was because they were probably half brothers, but it just confuses it even more now that we hear that there were multiple notorious criminals. Yeah, I don't know. It's I've tried to list my thing, but it was all like, I don't know how, if Dragon is both of their father, how it does that. But if it's not their own, if they don't share the same father and they don't share the same mom, then how are they brothers? Unless they were just raised as brothers, which is possible. That's honestly, the more I think about, that's becoming more likely. But then it doesn't make sense why they kind of look alike, but they don't look exactly alike.
No, but they look alike in the way that I feel like siblings in One Piece would look alike.
That's true, yeah.
So
we don't see a lot of siblings, do we?
No. But
we don't see a lot of siblings, do we? Maybe they aren't siblings.
No one's siblings in One Piece. I don't know. I
see
think
like
that
Nami and her sister, but they were adopted.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a repeating idea there, and they were raised as brothers, but they're not actually brothers. Because they say like about his father, and then Luffy, and then it's when it's about Ace, he's like, my mother.
Yeah. But I mean, he could just be that. Like then again,
he's talking about his name, so
yeah.
the subject is the sentence is different.
I mean, it could also be like they could be full siblings. That's like a very easy answer that just doesn't align with our previous like conceptions
and with the dialogue in this scene.
Yeah.
To be fair.
But also, there is the possibility that they do share a mother. Luffy is related to, like, yeah, they share a mother, and then Garp just kind of adopted Ace as well after something happened to their mom. If she was a criminal, maybe she went on the run. If she, you know what I mean? Like, Garp doesn't necessarily seem like the kind of guy that would just be like, you're not biologically related to me. I hate you. Get out of my sight, Because, that's the other thing. If Ace has no memories of his father, but he does have memories of his mother. Luffy doesn't have memories of either, as far as we know. He's never spoken about them.
Maybe they do share a mom then.
Well, yeah.
Maybe they do share a mom, and that's... And their mom died in childbirth.
Yeah.
With Luffy.
Yeah, there could be that. Because the thing is if Dragon, I'm assuming like both of the parents left the scene at roughly the same time, at least in Luffy's life, because he doesn't seem to mention either of them. Whereas Ace has a very strong attachment to his mom, which would be similar to the thing of like either. If Dragon was both their dads, he just, like, came back for round 2 and then took off again. And then he's like, I fucking hate this guy. Yeah, I don't, but Ace's story does kind of, is reminiscent of in a different story where there's, like, the mom, dies in childbirth or something like that. And he's like the older sibling, and then there's a younger sibling that doesn't really remember, but then the older sibling like really cherishes the memory of the mom and like hates the dad because he wasn't there. Yeah.
Speaking of making assumptions based on like small word choices, the idea of their blood flowing through their veins, again, the easiest the blood of the most notorious, infamous criminals flowing through their veins. The easiest thing with that, because we're thinking about parentage, is that they're talking about their fathers or their parents in some way, their mom maybe. What if they're not even talking about that? What if this is literally confirmation of the cuck theory?
Well, I was thinking that too. I'm like, if your grandparent,
is
that's
a notorious
still the
criminal,
same thing.
Which,
like, what if
Roger?
Yeah, well, because there was the somewhat of original theory that Roger was too old to be Luffy's parent, but not necessarily too old to be his grandparent, because judging by the timeline of the live action, Garp and Roger seem to be around the same age and were like rivals of a sort. Which normally happens when you're around the same age as someone. Garp is Luffy's grandfather, and then we had the cuck theory, or just the theory that their kids got together, and it was like a really dramatic turn of events that like one of the top Marines and like the top pirate, their kid, like a Romeo and Juliet style thing,
Yeah, maybe Portgas is like Garp's daughter's first name. Like, she was Monkey D. Portgas, and he decided to be Portgas to Ace to carry on her memory.
Oh, that would actually be an extra interesting thing if that was her first name.
So if we want to concretely establish we need to revisit the cuck theory we've been talking about for a while. I think thinking about that, it's still possible, because then the idea then would be we need to go back, rewind time to Garp being young Marine superstar badass, Roger, king of the pirates, or at least rising star, one of the most powerful pirates, before he went on the Grand Line and did that whole escapade in the last 3 years of his life. So we think about all this shit. What we could, or maybe it would be around that time that he got sick, maybe. Regardless, back in the day, Garp is the cop, Roger is the robber, and he's chasing. They're in this eternal dance of cop and robber type thing where he's constantly on his tail following him. Similar to how in the live action Garp was following Luffy. Similar kind of thing, and it repeats. So Garp maybe has a wife. Roger comes in, fucks his wife. Or maybe maybe he doesn't just fuck his wife. Maybe they had an estranged marriage. Maybe Garp is not in the sort of Japanese salaryman who doesn't come home from work, has an apartment in the city, works too hard, doesn't pay attention to his family type thing. Maybe he's so focused on catching Roger that he neglects his family. Then his wife leaves him and then has a romance with Roger. Roger gets her pregnant, has a kid, and then I'm gonna do better. I'm gonna make sure that I break this curse, and I'm gonna steal. He got cucked, so he's gonna cuck Roger back. He takes his kid and raises his child as his own to say, I'm gonna turn this kid into a better person. Maybe that was Dragon, or maybe it was the mom, or whoever. They have kids, but he fails because whatever, Dragon, maybe the wife dies, maybe if it's a woman, she dies in childbirth, he doesn't get the chance. If it's Dragon goes off and is completely rubber bands, backfires, and he wants him to be a agent of justice, a Marine, keeper of the peace. Rubber bands, he wants to destroy all of that. Then he tries to do the same thing with the grandchildren, where however that mishmash of in the middle generation that works out. Then he tries to do it with Ace, it fails. Maybe he tries to do it with Shanks. We don't know how he fits into that. Maybe he tries to do it with Shanks. Maybe he tries to do it with, and then he tries to do it with Luffy. All of it fails, and now he's trying to do it with Kobe and Helmeppo. And maybe, thinking writing-wise in the story right now, this is why the cuck theory is interesting, is because this, what he's trying to do of, take these kids and turn them into, pillars of justice. He's kind of doing that as an example for us as the audience who's maybe thinking about this less intensely than we are right now. Just as a framing device for getting getting some version of this information. Not exactly how I said it, but it would be a good way to show that that's what Garp is trying to do by seeing how he's acting with Kobe and Helmeppo, taking them under his wing and teaching them and stuff like that, and how they're becoming really strong. And it might reflect what he tried to do with Luke. If you're take out of theory brain, regular audience person watching the show, reading the manga, not really thinking that deeply about it. You're a writer trying to illustrate this domino effect going back from when Roger was alive. Show a smaller microcosm example so that when all that gets revealed, you can see this pattern of behavior that spins out into his whole character. Maybe that's what Garp is he he wants to better the future, but he hasn't fully learned his lesson. He keeps making the same mistake. He keeps focusing more on being a marine or doing justice stuff rather than listening to the children and wanting the best for them in that way. But maybe he also has learned his lesson. That's why he's a lot less harsh. That's why he refused the promotion to go up to Admiral. He's still Vice Admiral after all this time because maybe he doesn't like Buster Call. Maybe he's having doubts about his position. He clearly can be serious in what we're seeing with his conversation with Ace. He's not all laughing and whatever. When there's serious moments about serious shit, he gets that circle around the small pupil focused look. But all this to say, I think that the cuck theory is maybe becoming more and more some version of it. Not exactly how I said it, but some version of Garp, like a reverse cuck theory maybe, where Garp is just taking Roger's children and trying to rehabilitate them. He's trying to break the cycle, prove that not everybody needs to be a pirate, prove that, you know, but as it keeps going on, he keeps failing. Or maybe that's what we think, but maybe Garp is intentionally like pushing them too hard and pushing them towards his thing too much, knowing that they will follow in their father's footsteps, and that's a better thing. Maybe he knew Roger and what Roger wanted more than we understand. Maybe Roger told him about what he heard or what he saw with the poneglyphs, or about Raftel or whatever. And Garp has more insight, and he is doing like a 5-head thing where he's like trying to foster Luffy or Ace or possibly Shanks or whoever into following Roger's footsteps properly and bringing about like a proper era of peace. That's also why he doesn't want to buster call anybody, why he doesn't want to become a full admiral. Yeah, I don't know. Or I guess the vice admirals do the buster call. Regardless, doesn't matter. That detail's unimportant.
There's a lot of things. There's just so many things that we can be connected to, and like the OG Roger Cuck theory, the OG like Roger's kid and Garp's kid get together. Like these are like older theories that just, you know, there's no real reason to like fully dismiss them at this point. But I also, with the whole like Robin being Roger's kid secretly theory, like I feel like I like that a lot.
I still think that like, I don't even know if that's going to be focused on, but I
guess the thing that I like about that theory for like Roger's like legacy or whatever, I feel like that's like more interesting because she's not the main character. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I always thought that was more interesting, because one of the things that I really didn't like in Naruto was when everything just got so, like, this person is related to this person, and the reincarnation of this person, and the reincarnation of this person who's still alive, and it's all, like, one to one, you know what I mean? Like, I like when there's, like, some things that are unexpected, or, like, variables, like, and the fact that Luffy's mom is a secret is a big variable. And we've said that before, of like, you know, that could be more interesting. Maybe she has a relation to Roger. Maybe she has a relation to something else. Maybe she just is something else unto herself that is cool, and like adds a different element to it.
If we're going like full, if we're in that vein, if we're going full on archetypes, which it seems to be going more and more into, but twisting it is not so totally standard. Like, you can't really project exactly what's going to happen based on hero's journey archetypes of, you know, basic shit. Like, it's not like you can lay out the beats of Star Wars and plant it onto One Piece and then understand exactly what's going to happen. There might be similarities because there's just beats that are necessary in storytelling. But yeah, I think that, anyway, I think it's very interesting. I was looking at this. I think that the cuck theory might be more fucking, I think that what we were thinking about with Garp is what's going on with Whitebeard. Say, like, so, say, cuck theory on some level, Roger is related to Luffy and Ace. Some way. Maybe Garp took in Roger's child, raised them up as his own. They had children. So now Roger is like their grandfather, where they think that it's Garp, but it's actually Roger. What if Whitebeard, who is Roger's ultimate rival as a pirate, knows that and is like, sees Roger's child or grandchild, probably grandchild, going by our theory,
like, hey,
is like,
you're my kid now.
You're too valuable. Like, it's like an ultimate victory over Roger, who died of a sickness and gave himself up before his time, where they could have a full-on clash in this like Goku and Vegeta sort of way. And so Whitebeard's alive. He's being kept alive. Maybe actually Whitebeard has the same sickness that fucking Roger did, but he didn't turn himself in. Yeah, because he had all those like IVs and shit hooked up to him the first time we saw him. Maybe he's actually sick as well, but we don't know it. Maybe he's pissed off that Roger just let himself go, and he, you know, it's kind of a reflection where Roger is like this almost Buddha figure who's like awakened spiritually beyond like he's hearing the voice of all things, the voice of the universe. He's like open to this greater truth. He knows this deeper thing about the poneglyphs. He understands things on a deeper spiritual level. And he's like transcended this petty rivalry between maybe him and Garp, or maybe him and Whitebeard, or whoever. And maybe that led him to like abandon his grandchildren or children or his family, because he's just so disconnected. And but maybe it's for a good reason. Maybe he understands this wilder, greater truth. And to Whitebeard, who's still on the ground or on the sea, his head isn't in the sky. It's in the world. So he's thinking about more bodily desires. He wants to stay alive longer. He wants to prove that he's the dominant one. He wants to, in a way similar like how Goku, he wants to fight because he just loves fighting. He does it for the sake of it. He wants to become stronger. He wants to challenge himself. He wants to grow and prove to himself against whoever his challenge is. He doesn't do it to save people's lives. He does it because it's a challenge and it's a worthy reason to live. And it's just so inborn, he doesn't even think about it. Vegeta is always fighting to prove his Saiyan pride. He has like this very vain idea about his strength, where he's, the fact that he's not the first Super Saiyan eats at him. The fact that he is like the last prince of his people, and he's like the prince of only like 5 living Saiyans. He's sort of clinging to this a lot compared to Goku, this like more petty, in a way, depending on your interpretation, it's a more like physical thing. It's not based on joy and moving forward and look and feeling this like more wholesome reason for fighting. Vegeta does it for like selfish kind of vain purposes. Maybe you could look at Whitebeard and Roger's thing the same way, and Roger being the grandfather of Ace, then he, kind of takes that role, kind of like similar to how we were just talking about how Garp did it, like in the Cuck theory, like how Garp is like taking Roger's kid and then molding them in his image to do what he wants, and then he doesn't end up doing it. What if Whitebeard is literally doing that?
Yeah, that'd be kind of crazy.
And he's like under my name, so he's like literally claiming him. And Ace sees it as like a really good thing, but maybe Garp is like, maybe knowing Roger more and knowing that he wasn't just the piece of shit, like he defends him there. He's like, well, your father or wait, did he say your father or your grandfather or whoever? What did he say? Yeah, he was talking about his father. But never want to because I don't have it only. What I want to say is, he was gonna defend him. So like your grandfather or whatever, your person is like, yeah, I don't know. I think you see what I'm saying. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Maybe not. I don't know. It seems like it's getting a little bit too.
It might just be getting a little bit out of hand, but something between all that we said must be correct.
Yeah. Good for nothing father's blood. The ages are weird too, because like for Robin, who's 28, almost 29 now, to have Roger as a father who was in his 50s or 60s, that makes sense. Yeah. Because but like for Ace, who is 3 years older than Luffy, so like Luffy's he's somewhere between 15 and 18. Yeah. He's like 20 or so. Then Roger, yeah, it would make more sense for him to be like a grandfather.
Yeah, I think. And also, like, yeah, it's like depending on who their mom is, like how that, and Roger would have been on like death's door at that point. Like if he was the father, yeah, he would have been like sick and dying. And yeah, I don't, and I don't, like, if Ace knew that he was related, like, if Ace's paternal line went back to Roger, I don't think, like, you know, that he'd be like, oh, I fucking hate that guy. He's good for nothing. But, I mean, you never know.
Maybe he doesn't even know that he's related to him. Or no, he would, because that's what he said. He said, like, what he said previously implies that he would know. Because he's like, our bloodline is like the, you know, we have the most infamous criminals.
Yeah.
I mean, who's more infamous criminal than Roger?
Yeah. I mean, Dragon is pretty, like, currently alive, Dragon is really infamous criminal.
Yeah, but, like, with the plural, like, with the infamous criminals, it's like, we have Dragon, we know Dragon, who's on that level of, like, infamous? I mean, like, people like Rayleigh or Roger or people like that, you know? Unless it's, like, a warlord.
Yeah. And also, we don't know, like, their mom is being kept secret on purpose, I feel like. And there's people that we find out about all the time that we didn't know about before. So it's very possible that she could be, like, on that level of crazy infamous criminal. Because we just found out about Boa, who's, like, a super infamous criminal. Like, well known throughout, like, all of these way more top people. Like, what was her name? Lola knew about her and was like, oh yeah, she's so cool and, like, super badass. And we found out also about, like, we didn't even know about celestial dragons, which are apparently, like, a huge part of this world that everyone knows about. These, like, everyone who knows about things knows about them, you know? And I think that's part of it, is we just don't know about a lot of the things. Yeah. Especially if she was notorious, like, a while ago and not relevant anymore.
I don't know. There's still so much. If you had to, like, land on one prediction, what would you land on to end off the conversation?
It's really difficult. I always thought that they were half siblings, but I feel like now they might be full siblings. But it's really hard with all the wording and stuff. It doesn't give a definitive answer. So, and I feel like that's the problem. Is I feel like it's equally likely that they're full siblings, equally likely that Dragon is both of their dads and they have two different moms, that and Garp, because of his position, was able to, like, retrieve both children after whatever, you know, if anything happened to their moms. I also think that it could be possible that they share a mom and have different dads, and Garp just kind of adopted both of them after something happened to Luffy's mom. You know?
Mean, like, speaking with the Helmeppo Kobe thing, that's kind of what he's doing.
Yeah,
with
he's
them.
Just adopting children. So I think that's kind of
that.
Yeah. That's the thing. Is like that's what I was saying. I don't think that he's the kind of guy that would be like, oh, my son got a woman pregnant who already had a 4-year-old child. I'm just gonna leave this 4-year-old child in the dust, you know? Like, that doesn't seem, you know, he seems like, oh, this is another good candidate that I should, you know, raise up in my ways and, you know, put on the right path.
I wonder if Ace has Conqueror's Hockey. Like, I wonder if there's some way to know that, or if there's some way to know that will be passed on.
Yeah, like if that's an inheritable
and that's
trait.
Maybe why, I mean, Garp probably does things for other reasons, but maybe he's sensitive to who has potential like that, and that's who he decides to take in as far as kids. Maybe you can tell that when they're a baby. Maybe you can tell that based on their parents. It seems to be so, maybe? Can't really tell.
Yeah, but judging, I guess I would say it seems like they share a father and that it is Garp's son, based off the fact that Garp was defending Ace's father, which I don't think that you would do if that wasn't your kid that you were trying to defend, you know? Like, if it was just some other completely random guy, no relation to Garp, why would he be like, oh, your father did try, you know? Like, you wouldn't say that. Usually, you know?
I don't even know if he was gonna say your father did try, or, like, say Dragon's their dad. He'd be like, your father had his own thing, because, you know, maybe if Garp is, like, disillusioned with the world government on some level, then he might be like, your father, Dragon, was, like, has his own reason, like, has a really good reason. He's, like, fighting, it's like, Hohenheim, Like, you know, you don't understand, like, you know, your father left you, but you don't understand that, like, he had a reason for abandoning you as a kid, and it was a pretty good reason. Maybe not entirely, you know, similar to Hohenheim, maybe it wasn't entirely about the like big reason that he did, like the story, the plot reason. Maybe it's also a character thing where he's like ashamed or sad and depressed, and that's why he's doing that. One Piece is less sort of like that than, say, Full Metal Alchemist, but so, you know, Dragon doesn't seem, maybe he has like the sadness to him, but we don't know. Yeah, something about Dragon and Ace and the way that everything's talking about this, it doesn't seem right. It just doesn't feel right. Just like how it's possible that he took his mom's first name as his last name. Yes. But it's possible, and it would fit with everything else that we're talking about, but something about it just doesn't fit properly. It just doesn't feel like that's what it's supposed to be. And also with Roger being like his dad, it doesn't feel like that fits entirely perfectly either. But it does fit with what's going on with Whitebeard, and that whole, like, that's literally just the cuck theory, but instead of Garp, it's Whitebeard. Kind of similar, like a similar kind of idea where you're like taking the legacy and erasing you from it and putting yourself in this person to like really like overwrite their doing and take that for your own. You're like claiming that your spot over them when they like, you know. So it fits with that, but again, it doesn't feel quite right because of maybe the age with Roger and everything we know about what he was doing. It's still possible, but it doesn't feel quite perfect. Yeah. It still feels more like maybe Roger's Ace's grandfather had a child, then Garp and Roger's kids had kids. And that was maybe Luffy or Ace or both.
Yeah. And that's only if we're trying to connect Roger to Luffy just because he's the main character, or, you know what I mean? Like, they have all these similar things, but it's also... They also
look more alike than Ace and Roger. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. I don't know. Every time anything gets brought up of this, it's just like... just go around and around and around and around, and the new information just makes you go around more times.
I feel like we are getting closer.
I feel like we're getting closer, but nothing ever gets disproved. Things only get added in. Nothing gets for sure 100%. This is, you know what I mean? Nothing ever gets... It's never like...
Which I like.
I like it.
I prefer it.
I like it. It just makes theorizing hard because we can't say for certain that anything is not true.
Yeah. Which is, it's the same reason why I really loved theorizing about Attack on Titan back in the day, is that it's like, it's the same shit. It's you learn more and more is added on top. And you can kind of use the old information to infer things about the new information, but they don't really, they're like parallel. They aren't entirely in conflict. There's not really a lot of conflict, so you can, it's hard to really figure out the actual truth of the matter until it's said. And then when they say the truth, that's also like adding more to it as well. And it, you know, that only when it's fully stated in black and white is it like totally erase everything that happened before. But yeah, I don't know.
Especially when you got theories that are kind of like unhinged, like the cuck theory. Because then it's like, even if he was saying like, you are my 100% grandson, then with that theory, that would be a lie. And we'd have reason to doubt it anyway. Yeah. But that, you know, I don't think, yeah.
I still think there's something with Roger, I think. He's in the mix somehow, I think. Maybe not, but just the stuff with Whitebeard, it just makes too much sense to me. But but again, it's like that part makes sense, but then when I picture the family tree, it just feels so like twisted up that it feels like maybe not, you know, I don't know. We'll find out, I guess. Fuck, we were meant to watch like 5 episodes today, but we've just spent like an hour and a half talking about one.
Well, maybe we'll find out more in the next episode. We can have this discussion again.
Yeah. Let's check it out. Leave a like and subscribe. Let's move along.